Hi y'all, so you're back in here in that episode of Indigo Podcast, and today I'll be giving y'all I got 5 tips on how to lose weight. 'Cause I know a lot of people, they want to get leaner, they may be obese or whatnot, just whatever the case may be. So I think these tips will help people out and give people a better idea of what to do. So I think a lot of people on the internet, a lot of fitness influencers, and just people that want to take people's money and just make people believe in lies and whatnot. They say certain things like, "Oh, you can't eat carbs at night, and you can't eat sugar ever again," and like whoop whoop, like just scaring people. Like, no, this it's very simple. It's obviously not easy for a lot of people, but it's very straightforward. And I hope these tips can paint a better picture for y'all. So the first thing I got here, this is the main thing. Like, if you haven't heard this before, this is the main overarching theme of losing weight. Unless you have a metabolic issue or something else going on. But overall, 99.9% of people need to be in a calorie deficit. So basically, calorie deficit is, let's say my maintenance is 3,000 calories. So a good deficit would probably be around 250 to 500, something like that. So basically, the point of a calorie deficit is just it's basically it's thermodynamics, like energy you put out versus energy you put in versus energy you put out. So if you're eating 3,000 calories, but you're only burning 2,500 calories, you're in a calorie surplus. If you're burning 3,000 and you're eating 2,500, you're in a calorie deficit. So that calorie deficit will facilitate the weight loss depending on how fast you want it. So I wouldn't, because I think when people hear calorie deficit, they're like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go on 1,000 calorie deficit because I can lose like 3 pounds in a week. No, that's not sustainable, and a lot of people can't stick with that for a long period of time. So that's why I said the range of 250 to 500 is the most sustainable in my opinion. That's about a half a pound to a pound a week, which is I would think that's very sustainable for the average person. So, people talking about you got to go on a starvation diet and just eat salad and ice cubes and drink iced tea. Like, that's all you can eat. No, that's not the smartest thing, because it falls into what I'm about to say later. But the main thing is just picking something that's sustainable. A lot of people, they fall into fad diets like keto and paleo and carnivore. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but overall, a lot of people feel restricted when they approach those diets and make that part of their lives. So pick some, well, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but the main thing is just a calorie deficit. But the only exception to pulling calories like extremely low, what I would say, let's say you're Mr. Olympia or you're doing a bodybuilding show, you have to pull calories that low to cut the extra body fat towards the end of the prep. However, if you're just, you're lifting, you might run a little bit, you're not really training for a bodybuilding show or anything too extreme for bodybuilding purposes or body purposes or whatnot, you probably shouldn't cut calories that low. Like, at all, in my opinion. Like, if your maintenance is 3,000, you shouldn't be eating 1,600. You should be better off eating 2,500, maybe 2,400. That might be pushing it, but that's more sustained because it's not too far off of your maintenance. So it'll be difficult, but it won't be to the point where you feel like you're dying every day. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, like I need food. Like, and then when you feel like that, a lot of people, they end up binging because they've deprived themselves and restricted so hard and so aggressively to the point where they just go crazy the minute they get a chance. So unless you're doing like a mini cut or you're a bodybuilder cutting down towards the final week or so of your show or weeks leading up to your show, that makes sense. But if you're just trying to be healthier and lose weight, take your time, take the slow approach. Don't go on a 12,000 calorie deficit and make yourself suffer way more than it needs to be. Keep it simple. I'll say 250 to 500 is a good goal, and keep it there under your maintenance. So number one overarching thing, calorie deficit. It's the main thing I want to get through to y'all on this. But the second thing I got here, like I was just saying, choose a sustainable approach. Like wearing a sweatsuit, eating 1,000 calories under your maintenance when your maintenance is 3,000 calories and you're eating 2,000 calories. Just avoiding food events, like avoiding certain foods at all costs, not eating foods you like, blah blah blah. Like just being overly restrictive when you, like, unless you're a bodybuilder, this doesn't need to be. So if you can't stick to it consistently, you should find something else. Because if you're doing, let's say you're vegan and you don't like being vegan, but you're doing it because you saw Billy say it on Instagram that being vegan is the best way to lose weight, when in reality they're all just cutting calories. So you're like, all right, Billy, he's on to something, and you do that and you're like, I hate this. Pick something else, please. The thing is, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you just stick with that, even knowing that change will forge more growth. Because if you're like, all right, I don't want to be vegan, all right, I like pescatarian, or I like Mediterranean, or I like eating red meat every now and you can stick to that, and it puts you in a calorie deficit, and it's overall healthy. Because I think one thing I need to mention too, technically you can be in a calorie deficit eating Twinkies and McDonald's, but is that the healthiest thing? No. I'm not saying, I mean, obviously, let's say you're obese and um you like eating Twinkies every now and then. That's fine if you're in like, let's say 3 of your meals are pretty healthy, and you're like, okay, at night I like a Twinkie, and that follows in my calorie budget. That's completely fine in my eyes, because you can stay consistent with that. If you can't stay consistent with that, you're like, oh wow, I would prefer to have some ice cream every now and then, but I feel like I can't have it because I want to restrict and whatnot. Like, if you can add that in and stay consistent with an overall healthy approach, I see nothing wrong with it, because overall it's forging growth. So the main thing I just want to say here, like, your diet doesn't have to be 100% perfect. Now, for me personally, I don't really, not even really, I don't at all eat fast food or outside food or like sweet stuff other than like smoothies or yogurt bowls. It's just because I personally just don't like those foods. Like, I just don't like them. It's not that I can't eat them. I could go out and get a vegan donut right now if I wanted to. It's just I prefer eating what I cook. But you don't have to be like that per se. You could go out to Gringos or go out to Whataburger, get a burger every now and then. I'm not saying you should do that 5 times a week and go OD, but if you would prefer to do that on top of, nutrient dense foods and being in a calorie deficit or whatnot, that's completely fine in my opinion, because you can obviously stay more consistent with that. So the main thing is just consistency. What can you stick with for a longer period of time? Because a lot of people hop on yo-yo diets and just are sporadic with what they're eating because they see, let's say 50 Cent endorses a carnivore diet and you're a 50 Cent fan. So, oh, 50 doing it, so I'm going to do it. In reality, you don't even like it, so what's the point? If you don't like it, if it's not tailored to you, I would drop it and find something that works for you, but follows the overall guidelines of what a healthier, calorie, I guess, conscious, like awareness, I don't even know, diet looks like, or dietary pattern looks like. But anyway, on to the third thing, strength train. Now, the thing is, I think the main, and this is a misconception I have when I lost weight personally, because I did it the wrong way. But I didn't strength train. I didn't strength train at all. All I did was I hooped. I maybe went for a walk every now and then, and I just reduced my calories a lot. So that was about it. But obviously now I strength train, obviously, but don't be like how old Caden was when he first lost weight. Strength train, however that works for you, whatever you can recover from and whatever you can stick with and be consistent. Because same with diet, exercise, sleep. I need to work on sleep, but sleep, just anything, consistency, whatever you can stick with. So if that looks like upper lower 4 times a week, do that on top of this. Because the thing is, I think the main misconception, and I used to think this too, cardio. But in reality, it doesn't all need to be cardio. Obviously, cardio will put you in a calorie deficit because you're expending more than you would be eating. So it puts you in calorie deficit, because with a calorie deficit too, you can eat at maintenance and increase your activity, or eat below maintenance and keep your activity constant, and it'll facilitate a deficit either way. But anyway, cardio isn't the only thing that, obviously lifting burns less calories than like going for a 5 mile run or going for a 7 mile walk, obviously. But I would say mix the cardio with the weight training. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, like, I'm gonna go back to the maintenance being 3,000. So let's say you're eating at maintenance, you don't want to drop your food because that's what you prefer. So you start running a little bit more, you start logging a bit more miles, or you start logging more time on the treadmill or Stairmaster or whatever you do for cardio. But on top of that, the thing is, that I got misconstrued, and I think a lot of people aren't aware of. If you just do cardio and you do no weight training, you're just gonna end up skinny when you lose weight. That's what happened to me. So if you weight train while you're losing the weight, when you lose the weight, you'll expose a more leaner look and you'll expose the muscle you built. Obviously, you can't retain all the muscle when you lose weight. You will lose some muscle, but you'll retain much more than you think. So make sure you strength train. Obviously, a lot of people want the leaner look and they want to build muscle. So you can do both at the same time. You can build muscle in a calorie deficit. Obviously, you can build more in a surplus and at maintenance. But you can definitely build muscle in a calorie deficit. And you're basically killing two birds with one stone if you're adding more cardio or reducing your calories, or a combination of the two on top of strength training, which will help you gain some lean mass and just make you look more, your body recomp. It'll make your body recomp overall and make you look better overall. So also, I forgot, it'll improve your health because there's a multitude of benefits of strength training. Mentally, physically, it can improve blood markers and whatnot. I'm not gonna lie, I can't really think of all of them off the top of my head. That's another video, but just know strength training obviously makes you look a little bit leaner, and it just kills two birds with one stone when you're losing the weight. So third thing was strength training, but the fourth thing I got here, don't get discouraged. And I used to deal with this a lot too, because well, I'm not really sure if a lot of people know, but a lot of the weight fluctuations you see, because if you weigh yourself regularly, one day I could be like 136, the next day I could be 139, because maybe I ate a little bit later, maybe I drank a little bit more water, maybe I had more sodium in my food or supplements or whatnot. It just, the time I went to bed, if I'm more stressed, like there's so many factors that can make your weight change. And I had to realize that, because I'm like, okay, the best thing to do actually is to take the average. That's why I would recommend, unless you have a problem with weighing yourself every day and you don't like doing that, I wouldn't, don't trigger anything or I wouldn't trigger anything just to get an average. Do what works best for you and what you can tolerate. But for me personally, I think in terms of accuracy, is that a word? Accuracy. That's what I meant to say. I would recommend weighing myself or weighing yourself every day if you can tolerate that, and take that. Well, use an app that takes the average. So basically, you weigh yourself Monday through Sunday. And for me, I use a Garmin, and they have a weight tracker app type thingamajig. So it tracks the average, and you should use that to compare to your week to week weight or whatnot. So let's say on average, week 1 you're 138. On average, week 2 you're 138.2. Average week 3, you're 137.9. They're around the same numbers, but on average, if you see this, like you're 138, 145, 150, okay, you're in a calorie surplus. You need to correct it. But overall, if it's around the same number, I wouldn't worry about it. So don't really, freak out and stress about the day-to-days. I know a lot of people can stress out about, okay, I'm 138 one day, the next day I'm 140 because I went to bed a little bit later. I was a little bit stressed. I drank a little bit too much water close to bed. So just don't get discouraged and just trust the process. I think the main thing with, losing weight, I think a lot of people don't really give themselves the chance for the process to play itself out, because I feel like obviously I feel like I know losing weight and gaining muscle and anything in terms of fitness and just life in general, it takes a while for you to really see the progress. So I think that's why a lot of people lean into starvation type diets and extremes, because they want to get there as soon as possible. But if you learn to enjoy the process and really take your time and do it the right way, because a lot of people do it the wrong way and they end up with eating disorders and a distorted reality of what food is and what food can be for them, which obviously isn't the best thing. And I think, people spreading real information and giving the truth out there instead of, putting a fad diet and saying, oh, this is the best way to lose weight. In reality, it's just a calorie deficit. That will prevent more people from going that way, because it's not fun at all. So main thing, just don't get discouraged. If you see a weight fluctuation, don't freak out. Just follow the average trends and see how that goes on your journey. Don't worry about the day-to-days. Just calculate the averages the best of your ability and go off of that. But last thing I wanted to talk about, and other than calorie deficit, I would say this is like calorie deficit and this are like the two most important things. Like they're like together, to be honest. Be consistent. Like I keep saying like we choose a sustainable approach, because the main thing is if it's unsustainable and you don't envision yourself sticking with it for the long run, you can't be consistent with it. And the main thing with running, lifting, diet, whatever, consistency. I personally, I really, I'll take this like to, I don't even know. I'll take this to Yucatan. I don't even know. I'll take this. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but basically, what I'm trying to say, consistency is a life changer. If you can just, let's say you like a pescatarian diet, okay, hypothetically speaking, you like that, so you're enjoying it, you like salmon, mussels, blah blah blah, you're eating broccoli, rice, blah blah blah, you're doing your little thing and you're staying consistent with it. It would garner way more results if you picked a keto diet and you hate it, because you're just gonna look at that menu or where however you track your food and you're like, oh, I gotta eat butter again and steak again and I don't even like this. So just pick something that you like and just be consistent. Like literally the main thing, consistency works for anything and everything in life. Because if you trust the process, you show up day in and day out, do what you set out to do, you'll be surprised at how much progress you can make. But that was a little episode, a little 5 tips on how to lose weight. Because I know a lot of people want to lose weight and they may be unsure because of what's out there and what people are saying. But in reality, I just think it's more simple than you think. Just, it may not, and it probably won't, and it shouldn't be easy, but make it as simple as possible and just stay consistent, stick with it. But that's episode 40, and I'm gonna see y'all next time.